All right, so they want to know about their grandmother.
Sarah Flashman Cohen.
But my last memory of her was in the fall of 1947 at Joe Sheffer's bar mitzvah. Okay. And after the we lived only one block away from the Sheffers in South Brookline. And at that time, my grandmother, Dora Flashman, but she was not a sister, she was a sister-in-law,
Right.
and had a heart attack that summer. And when I came home from camp, my father rushed me to see her because he I was to be bar mitzvah the following spring. And he said, if my grandmother dies, I will not have a bar mitzvah in the sense of a
Really?
party.
Wow.
So that's the backdrop. So after the bar mitzvah, your grandmother came to our house because we were going to go to Roxbury to see my grandmother. And Sarah would hitch a ride and also be able to visit with my grandmother. Okay, that's the story there. Uh, Grandmother was a very lively, gregarious person. She made wonderful tegla. That was her forte. Whenever she came to Schuyler Street, she always brought a tray of tegla. She would
Yeah,
walk.
they live close. Devon Street to Schuyler
It
is
was
very
about
close.
15-minute walk,
Yeah.
and she
Yeah.
always took it. But Schuyler Street was on a hill, and
Yeah.
so a lot of people couldn't handle that, but she did. She was very spry at that time. Little did we know that because she would die the following June. So that was the last time we saw her.
Mm.
At that time, she told me that my mother's wedding was the most beautiful wedding she'd ever gone to. And that was in 1932 in Middletown, Connecticut.
Mm.
And all the Boston people had to drive to Middletown. And my grandparents, Shapiro, my mother's parents, they had a big beautiful garden at their home. So it was a garden wedding, which not many Bostonians had. So it was a treat for her that she remembered it 15 years later. Okay. Um, what else? Over the years, I would see her in Schuyler Street because she would walk up to see us. And your father and Uncle Melvin lived with her. They were bachelors.
Yeah, they were.
So
The girls got married young.
when I had my bar mitzvah, in those days, the families were so big, you couldn't invite all the children. So they used to start out, most of the time, they would invite the daughters rather than the brothers, the sons, in order to make it, possible. So when I had my bar mitzvah the following April, your father and Melvin were not invited because they were single, and only your aunts, Rose, Beatrice, and Doris, were invited. However, Davida and Joe were invited, and Seymour and Marvin, because I had been to their bar mitzvahs, Marvin's and Joe's anyway. But at the very last minute, they all pulled out because your grandmother was so sick. So they're even in the program. All the Cohens are listed, but they never came.
Mm.
And
Wow.
your grandmother died in June. Um, I remember it was the same week that Joe Sheffer graduated from grammar school, the Baker School in South Brookline. which was where I went. I was a year behind him. So your Aunt Beatrice showed up. She was all in black. And I went up to greet her and convey my sympathy.
Hmm.
Um, I actually, Doris lived not far from us in Oak Hill Village.
Newton, yep.
I think I was there once, and I remember how the house was mostly in yellow and white. She loved those colors.
My God, I can't even remember her favorite color.
And I
So
never,
weird.
She
I,
did like yellow. Yeah.
I never saw Ruthie or Amy again.
And yeah.
Oh, I'll give you guys a quick update. Amy's in the hospital.
Oh no.
Yeah, so let me just pause the recording because I'm recording.
Yeah.
Judy,
Yeah.
we were
And
That
her
was a
daughter.
great aunt. Wow. Wow.
The Bierces were a very big family of 8 children. But Hava was the oldest child. And then my grandfather, JJ. And then Reuben, then Simon, and then Sarah. Okay.
Mhm.
How does that become a flash?
Janet was the daughter of Hava and Abe Bierce.
Mhm.
And they were very well off. They were also in the tobacco business. And
In
Janet's married
Kentucky?
name
Hmm.
was Robinson.
Hmm.
She had 2 daughters, Eve, after her grandmother, and Abby. Now, what did you want to know about them?
Well, this was, I was just saying, there was this article written by her granddaughter, okay, and her granddaughter's middle name is Bierce, okay, and she was writing all about her grandmother and what a wonderful cook she was and what a wonderful person she was and why her middle name meant so much to her. I tried to get in touch with her, but I don't do Instagram. And so I failed miserably in getting in touch with her so she could get in touch with the other relatives who she probably doesn't know exist. I remember her uncle Sam and her
Yeah.
aunt and her
Sam
aunt
Davis, right?
and her
Yeah.
aunt Marion
Marion.
Wallach. Now the
Marion
Wallachs,
Wallach.
they had no children either. The Wallachs,
Marion Wallach was her name.
They had
right?
They had no children.
And Sam Bierce had no children.
There's no one to carry on the name Bierce because the
Hmm.
2 sons did not have children.
Hmm.
The only one who had Lorna has a son named Stephen,
Hmm.
and she gave him her middle name. His middle name is Bierce.
Hmm.
He's called Stephen Bierce Bedrick,
Hmm.
and he lives in San Francisco. He's a lawyer.
Right. Now, I remember my father telling me that Sam was a lawyer, but he also had a cigar business at the same time.
Yes, well, that was their father's business,
Mm.
and Sam put his brother-in-law, Lou Bedrick, to manage the business. It was called Bierce and Hannington.
Hmm.
Hannington was a cousin of your grandmother's.
Hmm.
They thought they were calling themselves Huntington
Hmm.
from Huntington Avenue, where they
Mm.
lived, and it became Hannington. They were partners, Abe Bierce and Morris Hannington.
All right, so we have everyone on now. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Leslie.
All right, we are recording this, so if you have any questions, and then I know Joel told a story about something that was kind of funny or unique, so maybe you'll remember when we drove home from
Which one?
I don't know. So he's talking about a woman on their side of the family.
Oh, that's the big scandal. I don't know if you know about it.
We do now.
What?
We do now. We started to learn about it when Stuart started when we became part of the Zoom group, which our Aunt Doris got us. Uh, our Aunt Doris got together with Martin Flashman and
No,
some
Ruthie, not Andros, Ruthie.
was it Ruthie? Oh, sorry, yeah, Ruth got together with Martin, and then this group that had started during COVID. I think we did find out about it during COVID, but it was already in place.
I'm talking about Rose. Is that what
Oh,
you're referring to?
Rose, which Rose?
Rose Schiff.
our aunt Rose.
Oh, she was in a scandal too?
Not a scandal. It's just a secret. I
Yeah, we
spoke,
we
I,
heard something. We did hear
I
someone
spoke to
once mention.
Ruth Favre. The only time I ever spoke to Ruth on the internet, I
Yeah.
brought it up, and she had never heard of it. And she was going to ask, I don't know whether Marvin was still living or not. He's dead, isn't he?
Yes.
Well,
Did
I think
Marvin die?
she was going to talk to his wife because
Myrtle.
thought maybe she knew something. The story was that Rose is not the daughter of Sarah.
Right.
Really?
And when Sarah came over from Europe with her parents, I think it was around 1898 or 99. And because her father died in 1900. He was Sholem Ben Sia, after whom Sidney, David and Judy's father, is named. Almost every family has a Sidney. And so there, your grandmother and your great grandmother were without support. And along comes David Cohen, who had lost his wife and had a baby girl. And the story is they made a shidduch. The two had been married, but Sarah wanted Rose or David. They didn't want anyone to think she was not their child. So they made everybody, I think, swear to secrecy.
Oh, wow.
And the reason, and of course, she was physically very unlike the Cohens. The two girls and the two men were both very tall and
Yeah.
lean,
She was short. Yeah.
Yeah.
as was Sarah. And of course, Rose was very short and dumpy. So she must have taken after her mother's family.
Hmm.
And once it came up, I don't know whether it was me or my mother asked my grandmother, Dora Flashman, about this secret. And I remember my grandmother's eyes sort of popping out of her head. She said, "Don't ever speak about that. Don't ever ask."
Wow.
And this was,
What?
40, 50 years later.
What happened to David's first wife?
And the reason it was sort of known is because I mentioned to you that my uncle Herbert, was the same age as Sidney, 1906, right?
Five. Sydney
Five.
was 1905, but close.
All
Yeah.
around. And Herbert married a woman named Ruth Rosenfield. And her brother, Louis Rosenfield, lived upstairs from Sarah on Devon Street. And his wife, all this, and his wife's sister, they all lived on Devon Street. And they were the ones who knew the so-called truth. And they were the ones, because there was this intermarriage between the Rosenfields and uh, the Flashmans, they would let the secret out.
Uh,
Wow. Hmm.
But what?
Interesting.
But you said there was another scandal. What was the scandal?
No, that's a scandal.
It's a
I
secret.
don't know what else to call it. It's not really
Right.
a scandal. It's a secret.
Right.
So
Hmm.
Interesting.
What happened to David's first wife?
she
Or what?
died.
she died.
She
Yeah.
must have gotten
She
sick of
died very young,
Hmm.
Okay.
supposedly, and Rose was a baby.
Yeah.
And
it.
so and your grandmother was, single. Her father was gone. So, I guess
Mhm.
they made what they call a shidduch.
Hmm.
Yeah. I have a question. I spoke to Leslie about this at Sherry's, way back a few months ago when we were all there.
Mm.
I wondered how who like my father's middle name was Irving, and we wondered, who he was named after, who the middle name was.
Well, my father is named Irving also,
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's what Leslie said.
Irving Morris. But to be honest with you, I don't know who he was named after.
Hmm.
Then, if you go to our grandfather's grave, you'll see that he had the same exact initials as your father, M.I.
Yeah.
And his
Uh,
name was David.
Yeah, but my
Yeah,
father was I.M.
yeah, yeah. No, my David's father's name was Mordechai. Mordechai Yitzchak.
Oh,
Ah,
That's
okay.
uh,
that's
yeah.
M. That's
Melvin Irving.
M.I.
Yep, there it is. Yeah.
Well, but see, that's not the same as my father's not related to your
Right.
grandfather. He's only related to your grandmother.
Right.
So that's just a coincidence, probably.
Well, but I think obviously when my uncle Melvin was born, their grandfather never came to America.
Right.
There were no Cohens that came, from what I
No.
understood.
Sydney is named after your grandfather.
Right.
They're all the Flashmans and
Right.
Ball. By the way, I met your mother, David, and Judy at the retirement home in Jamaica
Hmm.
Plain.
Ah, yeah,
I
spring.
think
You did.
around 2003. I was with the other Judith Flashman, who was from the Malden branch,
Hmm.
Mhm.
and she brought me to meet her aunt, Bess Flashman, who was living at the same home.
Right.
Ah,
And
wow.
she lived to be around 100, I think. Her husband was also Sidney Flashman. And at the time, Judy said to me, "Oh, there's another Flashman here, Mildred Flashman."
By marriage. Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that your
yeah.
mother's name? Mildred.
Cohen, but yeah,
Cohen.
Mildred. Yep,
So
correct.
I said,
Yes,
"There's something wrong here. She's not a Flashman."
right.
Yeah.
So she brought me into the room, and I didn't want to get her all confused. So we just greeted her and
Any more
we left.
confused?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I straightened out Judy Flashman
Yeah.
that she was not a Flashman, but a Cohen. Because ironically, in the Simon Flashman family, you may have read about her, his son Silas married a Mildred. So there was a Mildred Flash. She was a professor at BU. She too lived to be over 100, and I think she died last fall.
Wow. Judy, how old was your mom when she passed?
101.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
How old was she?
Recently. 101. She had just
Yeah.
recently, like a month after her
What
101st
year was
birthday.
that?
2011, right, David?
I always get confused. A while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds about right to me.
Well, good on you. You're going to be live to be 100.
We'll we'll see about that, but yeah, maybe, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
So
this Flashman genes just wow, there's a lot of longevity. I mean, yeah, everybody
even
seems to be doing well.
even
And Roberta, Stewart, Erwin, they're all doing well. Martin,
and Daddy and Uncle Melvin were also quite old when they died.
Yeah.
yeah,
Our father was 90. Yeah.
90.
And
I knew your father, Sarah, because he
yeah.
was my sister's orthodontist.
Uh, he was everybody's orthodontist
Right. He was
in the
our
family.
generation, everybody's. Yeah.
And he was the same age as my Uncle Manny Flashman.
Yeah.
Oh,
They used to pal around,
Yeah.
and I knew them.
Yeah. I even have friends who I didn't know at the time because they were a bit older than me telling me that their kids were patients of my dad. And my friend Sherry, Ben, you know Sherry Cutler, she said she was always so impressed with my father because he spoke to her son like he was a normal person. And every time he came there, his hair was either green or purple or bright yellow. And dad treated him like, all is good. Things are going along swimmingly.
Yeah. I see though you look more like your mother,
Oh, you think so?
and
Huh,
Ben looks like a
interesting.
Cohen.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ben looks like a Cohen. Yeah, definitely.
And that's so funny that you say that, Joel, because my mom always thought I looked like Aunt Doris in my father's side of the family, and Ben looked like her brother, Uncle Norman.
Hmm.
Now,
But as we got older, definitely, I heard that more than the opposite.
tell me, is Joe Sheffer still alive?
We,
Yes.
We
yeah,
think so.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
is, right?
yeah,
Yes or no?
I think so.
Yeah.
So he's going to be 91 in the fall.
yeah.
Wow.
Is he the also the orthodontist?
Yes.
Yes.
Is
Right.
he
Yeah.
a dentist or an orthodontist? Orthodontist?
Orthodontist. He's an orthodontist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was and
I
Yeah.
think he's in Florida.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
So
who
it
was
sounds
it
like
his
you're
sorry.
not connected to him.
We're not that we did not know or spend time with our Aunt B growing up. There was a rift
Little
between
bit.
my father and Aunt B, and it had I never
That's right.
knew exactly what it was, but it had something to do um with Joe's practice. And
Oh,
Oh,
my father, yeah, that he, I think, was in Malden, and my father was very close with, oh, I'm forgetting his name now, but because we were pretty young, but a colleague of my dad's passed away, and his widow came to my father and asked him to basically buy her
yeah,
husband's practice, which my father just, I'm sure, his immediate reaction was, oh, okay, I'm happy to do that for you. So, and then I think that and I'm getting this all secondhand, not from my family, but I believe then that Aunt B and I mean others on Joe's side were upset that my father, who was, well known, well established and a professor at Harvard and all that, would sort of come into his territory. So
Because
I
Joe
think it
had a
was Jim
practice in
Ackerman.
Malden.
Pardon
Because
me, Ben?
Joe had a practice in Malden at the same time. Is that
Well,
right?
he was getting going, I guess. Now I heard the secondhand through Jim Ackerman, and
Uh-huh.
it was
Well,
a
I
very
remember.
brief. It wasn't an in-depth conversation at all, but it was after Daddy had died, and
They
was
never
some
Joe
spoke.
conversation
was
I had with
Joe
Jim.
considered a protege of your father's?
No, no, I don't believe so at all. I never heard that, but
But I heard the same story, Sarah, a long time ago.
yeah,
Auntie was very upset that he opened up an office in Malden.
right, right. That
oh, so your dad opened up. Yeah, I sort of
he
remember that he
opened
had,
up the office, the practice that he purchased
Right,
right,
from
so
his
the patients could come to the
right.
same.
right. So that the widow, yeah, would have, if she wanted, to cash out at that point. Her husband had built up a practice, and she asked my father, I guess and I'm sure knowing my father, he didn't quibble on, amounts. He
Right,
wasn't
and
wasn't
did
a businessman or a negotiator in that sense. So he probably just
and
gave her
did
what she asked for.
wow,
That's just
did
my guess. I don't know.
did Joe Sheffer even know the orthodontist who passed away? Did he even
I,
know him,
I
or it was
don't
just
I
a
don't know.
geographic thing?
I don't know. When Jim told it to me, it was a very sort of brief, I forget why or how we got onto that conversation, but it was sort of just a brief overview of, the
Yeah,
basics, really.
Do,
it's
And
too
I
bad.
wasn't anxious at the time to even learn more. So,
do
Yeah,
you know if
yeah.
Jim passed away, Sarah?
hmm?
Do you know if Jim Ackerman passed away?
I don't. I was in touch with Jim for a while, and he came and visited me a few times when he was in Boston, but he lives in, I believe, North Carolina. He moved to North Carolina, retirement home with his wife.
Hmm.
And then we were even I've thought about him recently. I should connect and find out, but no, I don't know. But we were Facebook friends. I could find him through Facebook if he's still.
He'd be very old.
He'd be pretty old, yeah.
Yeah.
But
I didn't.
my father used to tell the story about his grandmother, uh,
Okay.
our
Who's
great
Greg?
grandmother,
Yeah.
that she didn't really speak English.
Yes, I
So
know.
Right.
she
That's
she
not.
used to, she used to come from where she lived to our grandmother, to Sarah Flashman's house, basically every day, and she had a little card that she would hold up with the number 4 in it, because that was the streetcar that went to Devon Street.
Oh.
Hmm.
I'll tell you a story about your great grandmother
Okay.
because she lived with your grandmother, and that was sort of by default because when Shalom died, she was already in her 60s, and of course they had no form of support. So she went to live with Hava, who was the oldest child, and that didn't work out. And she went to live with JJ, my grandfather, and that didn't work out. The one
Hmm.
thing, my grandmother was Hungarian, and when Rose Flashman, your great grandmother, came to America, both JJ and Reuben were married to Hungarians. And she
Uh,
didn't like, she said at the time, it may be apocryphal, but she said if she had been here at the time of that, she would not have allowed them to marry
ah.
Aryan women.
They weren't good enough.
That's right. And Simon, the third son, he married a Russian lady. So she was the favorite. Her name was Mary Nowitzki.
Hmm.
And she was the favorite of Rose. So by the time she was it didn't work out with Hava and JJ, then it was by default, your grandmother had to take her in. And
Yeah.
she lived there for about 25 years, probably.
Yeah. Well, I did always hear from my father. He didn't talk about talk about a lot of things growing up, but whenever anyone asked anything about his mother, he was, adored her. She was a wonderful person. David, I think you and Judy, I think you always probably heard the same thing about her. Really
Yes.
loving and kind, and it sounds like she would be the one to keep her relative.
Right. And if you see her gravestone in Montvale, I don't know if you've been there, but all three Flashmans are buried there.
Yeah.
Both, JJ, Reuben, and Simon. But the two sisters are not. The Bierces and the Cohens are not in that cemetery.
No.
But the great grandparents are. And on her grave, it says she's 98 years old. But I don't believe that. None of us do,
Yeah.
because if you go back, the Jewish calendar is shorter than the English calendar. So you accumulate years more
Ah,
quickly.
faster. Yeah.
So, because if she were 98, I think she would have had Sarah when she was in her 50s.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And that isn't
Yeah.
very
No.
likely.
No.
Hmm.
And her name was Rose.
Her name was Rose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Katz
And
was
she
her maiden.
varies. David, did you ever hear about her living with the family?
No, because that daddy always talk about her coming on the streetcar with the number 4 sign.
Yeah.
But that
So I wonder when she lived with her
that,
grandmother.
that may have been later on,
Yeah.
because he would say that she didn't speak English and she couldn't read English,
Right,
but
right,
Yeah.
she could hold up the sign,
right,
and
right.
the streetcar would stop, and she knew where to get off.
Yeah. Hmm. Interesting.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
And then that was a cute story. You always tell us about her. They're my grandparents. Then and then our grandparents are buried in the Jesuit cemetery because they belonged there on Blue Hill Avenue, because it was walking distance from Devon Street, very short
Yeah,
walking distance.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, the cemetery where the Flashmans are buried is connected to a shul in the West End of Boston.
Oh.
Hmm.
Oh,
Oh, that-
there was a famous show in the West End. Oh no, that's
Yeah.
the neighborhood house. And but there was also a show that I think still exists, or at least the structure exists.
I
You know,
forget the name of it.
uh,
My uncle Sam Herson, who was married
that
to my aunt Helen Flash, his grandfather was the rabbi at that shul.
oh,
They but they started the cemetery, so it's a
Mhm.
newer cemetery. I think
oh,
around 1900, and the great grandparents are buried in an adjoining cemetery. I think it's called Agudas Achim.
Mhm.
mm. And this is in Malden. It's all in Malden.
What?
It's in Malden,
Well, I think
Massachusetts.
technically it's Melrose.
Oh, oh,
It's called Montvale. It's a whole group of some Jewish cemeteries there.
Hmm.
And I knew that Daddy was born, not Uncle Melvin, but I knew that Daddy was born in the West End because they didn't move to the house till I think 1912. He was
Right.
born in 1905.
Right. And my father was born in 1916. Melvin was 1916.
yeah,
So
he was the baby.
I guess 11 years. Yeah. Oh, so 11 years from
So
your
he was
father.
born at Devon Street. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
As was Judy.
yeah.
Was Sydney the oldest of the five?
Second, Rose was
No.
the oldest.
No.
Rose.
Aunt
Rose.
Oh,
Rose,
right, Rose. Because
Yeah.
Rose was from a
right, which we weren't
different
supposed to know.
father.
We never heard. Right. I
Well,
never heard any
surname.
inklings of that story. Did you, David?
No, but it didn't. They
Yeah.
treated her as their sister.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Always.
and she wasn't that much older than Sydney, right? A couple years.
No. No. If she was a baby and they were, when they were coming over, probably
Yeah,
not.
pretty close in age.
Yeah, they were just a couple years, I think.
Yeah, we have a wedding picture of mom and dad, and all of them are there. So I'm gonna have to take another look at that
Yeah.
to see if there's a difference in
Yeah,
features between
Oh,
Rose
there
and the other.
is. There
yeah,
is.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Her
Yeah.
mannerisms were different and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And Uncle A was very short too,
yes,
if
he
you
Yes.
was.
remember.
Yes.
Yes, he was.
And she turned out to be, if I can say so, the best daughter, because she's the
Uh,
one who took care of Sarah when she was sick.
yeah.
Did she? Mm.
Huh.
She was devoted to her.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Well, were Rose and Bee married by the time Sarah got sick? Were they already married? Did they already have their own families? They did, right?
Say that again.
You mean
I
Rose
think
and Doris? Or-
Rose and Doris were, and B,
yeah.
they're all
Well, they
married.
were all married. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but so was Rose. But
B
she
was
lived,
certainly married.
Well, they were
yeah.
all married. Yeah, except the men were not
Yeah.
married.
But
yeah,
but they were waiting. They were
There,
happy to
there,
live at home with their
yeah.
mother.
hmm, yep. Mm.
One of our aunts, not on the Cohen or Flashman side, used to say that it took their mother dying for them to get married.
Mm. Yep.
Mm.
No more home cooked meals. So, Sarah, who was the chef or grandson, maybe, who was on the Zoom who we connected with
Oh,
for a little while? He
was
lived in
it
New
Yes,
York, very
Adam
friendly.
or
yes,
Adam.
Adam?
Yeah,
yeah,
Adam. And
Yeah.
was he
He
the
was very interesting. He
grandson
was on
of
the art
Joe?
world. Yeah.
Yeah,
yes. He runs a
Very.
gallery.
yeah.
Which I know. Remind me of or maybe I'll contact him. I'm going to be going to New York City soon, and I can't believe I haven't been there since the pandemic. It's crazy, but
Well, we are still here, and so is Susanna.
yeah.
And what was he? Who
So
was he
yeah,
the
so
grandson of? Who was Adam related? Who was he? Was he Joe's or
No, Aunt Bee's.
yes, B's son.
what?
No, not B's son. B's grandson. You mean
Bee's
Right.
grandson,
Who was his parent?
yeah,
Who was his
right.
dad?
Joe
Which one?
Sheffer,
Joe. He
and
was
Betsy
Joe's.
Livingston.
Those were his grandparents, right?
Bee was his grandmother.
Not DeVito, Joe.
No,
Yeah.
no, I know.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you in touch with Davita's children?
No, we're not. Not at all. We used to get some stories about them. I think they have three children, but she died. One of them died in a car accident, and one
That
of
was
them
Vita died in a
that was
car accident.
Davita. And then her husband, the
That was
husband,
Chet.
Chet, got sick and died. He had a handbag line. We always used to have their
Yeah.
pocketbooks, remember? with
Yeah.
little feet on them.
But no,
And then they had three.
wasn't Davida ill anyway when she had the accident?
I think so.
Didn't she have some form of early dementia or I thought I'd heard that.
No,
And then
Davida was at Anita's wedding.
Yeah,
Davida,
I
yeah.
know. I know.
You remember it? I don't remember
Yes,
Anita's
because
wedding.
they had a fight with their mother with the husband, the then husband number four, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Of B? Wow.
I don't even remember what the husband's name was. He supposedly was beating Aunt B.
Oh yeah, the last one.
Uh,
Yeah. So the first
I
three were
thought the
great. They
last
did
one was
die.
Ellis the Rim Man.
Although there
No,
was
that
one
was
after him.
third. It was
Oh,
after
okay.
him. Yeah, they
Okay.
all they
He
all
wasn't the
died.
last one. He
Yeah.
was the second one.
Alice was the second one. The first one was a dentist, remember?
Yes,
Uncle
Maurice
Maury.
Sheffer.
Oh,
Yeah,
Mara Sheffer.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
He was really
Third
nice.
one, there was one named Weinberg.
Yeah,
I think the
he was
third
the
one
one.
was Weinberg.
Was he the bad one? Don't
And
remember.
then the fourth one, I'm not sure she married him.
Oh,
But when my aunt died in 1989, Beatrice came to the funeral and
hmm,
I greeted her, and she was standing. She introduced me to this man who was the fourth guy.
hmm, hmm.
And then B died not too long after that, right? Didn't she die in the like early 90s maybe?
Who, us, Beatrice?
Yeah,
Yeah, probably.
because I sort of remember her funeral. Yeah, it was right around the time that I was breaking up with Leslie. Sarah, remember
Oh,
Leslie?
yeah. You're a
Uh,
Leslie, yeah.
yeah, my Leslie.
You
So,
do.
and that was, I thought that was early 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. But she would have been already in her mid 80s.
Yeah.
Hmm.
She was
Yeah,
born the same year as my father in 1908, I think.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
yeah. Yeah, she was next after my father, and then Doris, and then Mel. Yep.
Hmm.
I remember the one story my father told that when she got married, which I think was 1929, because it was right before our grandfather died, and she went to her honeymoon was in Cuba
Wow.
Ooh.
Uh-huh.
Ooh.
because that's where people get because it was beautiful. Cuba was beautiful
Yeah,
then.
that sounds
Yeah.
adventurous. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just right 90 miles from Florida. So,
Right, and I guess there was a boat I guess from Boston that took them there.
mm,
Uh-huh.
mm. Yeah, so Maury passed away, and then she married Mr. Ellis, and then he passed away. And then did the third husband pass away as well? And then
Yeah,
there
Yes.
was,
don't you met him, Judy? He had a trucking company.
I don't remember.
He had a trucking company. I remember.
Hmm.
Ellis the Rim Man lived, I think, either next door or a couple of doors down from
Right.
her. Because I
Uh,
knew
Ah,
his son was also around my age.
mm.
yeah,
Yeah, he treated her well. I remember hearing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good marriage.
that's good. Yeah.
Well,
I never heard
Beatrice,
any details other than, who he was and knowing that his face was plastered on that big billboard on
Yeah,
Yes.
Commonwealth Avenue.
yeah, Commonwealth Avenue. Yeah,
It was a very successful business.
of
Yeah,
course.
yes, it was. Exactly.
Hmm.
Mm.
and then
But the,
Ben Greenfield he lived to be almost 100, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
96,
Mid
I think.
was
90s,
he?
96, 97. Yeah. Oh,
Was he
yeah.
that old? Really? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they're buried right next to
Your
our parents.
parents.
Yeah.
And Sharon.
Yeah.
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 Exactly.
Mm.
Yeah. I figured Ruthie would be around for a long time, but
Right.
Yeah, I
yeah,
know.
she was such a great person.
Yeah.
I,
Even
I,
though he only,
they did a lousy job taking care of her. She was sick, yes, but I think she didn't have to die.
I know. And I don't know why. I had a great conversation with her, not long, but it was a great conversation when she was in the hospital and she'd been there at least a few weeks. And then the next thing I heard was I got an email from Anita that said, please do not call
yeah.
my mother. It was
Yeah.
sort of very curt. I mean, I can understand being, the situation was probably touch and go, and everyone is, upset and probably possibly arguing with each other, but yeah, it was very curt, and I just sort of,
Well, that's
I
interesting
was
because
pretty close with Ruthie. I mean,
that's weird because I was on the phone with her regularly. When she kept going from the hospital to a nursing home, and then from the nursing home back to the hospital because
yeah.
they just mistreated her.
Or
Ah,
misdiagnosed her, maybe?
No,
Missions. When after your grandfather died, David Cohen, of course, your grandmother didn't have much means to live on. And Melvin was about 16 or 17. I'm talking about 1932, 33.
He was 12 when his father died.
or no, I think 13 because he went to Temple.
Oh, okay.
So I think he was 13.
Um,
Yeah.
anyway, around 32, 33, when he would have been 16,
Yeah.
Sarah sent him to the Young Novelty Company to get a job. And
Ah,
my uncle Carol, who's the eldest, ran the store. And Melvin came in and asked for a job. Well, Carol didn't recognize him. Carol didn't know who he was. So he said there was no job.
Huh.
And
oh my God.
Sarah was very upset because all my grandmother's family, the Hartstones, they worked in the store. They all had
Yeah.
jobs,
Yeah, I
especially
see.
around, even Christmas
Yeah.
time, even in the 50s, years later, I worked in the store at Christmas.
Yeah.
So Sarah was very upset and she didn't talk to JJ for a
Uh,
couple of years. I don't know the other story about the loan. I don't know that one.
no, that's Uncle Ben told us, but he never said anything about JJ. He never said which brother it was, but
But
one
it
of
was
the
in the
brothers,
paper,
yeah,
right? It was,
That
one of the brothers forged her signature on loan documents, and so she paid it off, even though she didn't have. That's where their money went because my grandfather left her with quite a bit of money, but the money went to pay off the loan because she refused to go to court and she wouldn't do that to her brother.
huh.
No,
two very
I
different
never heard.
stories.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Wow.
That's
That's
what
the
Uncle
thing.
Ben and Doris used to say.
The thing with my father, I mean, that just sounds like a misunderstanding. Like dad didn't, explain who he was. And
But I
so,
can see him not explaining who he was
yeah,
and not
right.
wanting to pull strings or embarrass people or
Well, and I have to say too that Carol was never a very aware person of who people were.
yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't have that kind of
Yeah.
function.
But now
Hmm.
But let me, Joel may know this. Uncle Ben used to say that there was someone in the family who was a loan shark and or was in the lending business, shall we say. And I wasn't sure if it was Burse, Werman, or Michaels. Because one part of the family was in the insurance business, but they may have been on the Cohen side. That's the part I never understood.
I think you're right because I'm not aware of anyone having been in the loan business,
Oh,
except in a mortgage, like Sam. Do you know Sam Flashman from Malden?
No,
He was Reuben's oldest son. He was a mortgage lender,
oh.
and very wealthy. But I don't know if that's the connection. Doesn't sound like he was on that level.
no. This was very early on,
Yeah.
many years ago. But he never told me. Uncle Ben never said which one it was,
Huh.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
Our fathers, Joel. Our fathers never said anything like that.
N-
Neither
No,
Melvin nor my.
no, I never had any, inkling.
Well, because they never said anything bad about anybody. That's
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Ben Greenfield was quite a character.
Yes.
He, he really was. And yeah, and he could be very hard on Doris too. I think he was a difficult man in a
Uh-huh.
lot of ways. And then, and it's funny when but both seemed, very sort of dependent on each other. But then when she died, his personality really changed. He became much more open and sort of, uh,
He was a good vegetable gardener. I
He
know
was
Yeah.
that.
well, that's for
really,
sure.
He
Yeah.
grew some
right.
wonderful beefsteak tomatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So his father and our grandfather used to play poker. That's how they together. That's how they knew each other.
Oh,
Ah,
uh-huh. Hmm.
Uh,
Did the Greenfield mill still exist?
no,
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 not for many years.
no.
no.
Imports drove them out of business.
Yeah. Yeah. There
They
were
had a
what,
factory.
four brothers, four Greenfield. Everyone said Ben was the brains of the operation
And
for sure.
Joe,
They had a
yeah,
factory right in Newton Center.
Right.
Right.
You could see it from the
I'm sure it's
thing.
apartments or condos right now.
yeah, it is.
But
And then they had the mill in there's one in Laconia and one in
Uh-huh.
Norton, North, the one in
Hingham, I
Norwell.
think. Wasn't it Hingham?
Norwell. Oh,
They were
Hingham?
from Hingham.
Ben,
They
yeah,
were from
Mill was
Hingham, yeah.
right, but the
Okay.
mill was in Norwell.
Oh,
No. And then they had stores on the lake in New